Hello and welcome to the preview edition of Go Ballistic. I am David Friel. I'm joined by the best dressed man in Sunspot, Ryan Rowe. Ryan, you're putting me in the shade again. Great to have you.
Thank you, mate.
On the show again. We'll start with Celtic. So much transfer business being talked about, so much speculation around Matt O'Reilly, Kyogo, Mikey Johnston and others. Matt O'Reilly has trained today. We know Brighton are very, very keen. Kyogo, so many strong links with Manchester City. That was an unexpected one of this transfer window. He's also trained today after his shoulder injury. Mikey Johnston, Burnley want him, Sheffield United want him. He's also trained. Celtic play St Mirren on Sunday. Is it business as usual?
Well, if it is business as usual, I would ask you, do you think Celtic have left it too late to replace some of these players? We kind of knew that the O'Reilly one's rumbled on for a long time. There's a few players that have been lined up. We've heard about the lad Engels from Belgium. Today we've had Mahamadou Diawara from Lyon. 19 years old, left-footed, long strides. That will appeal. Powerful player as well. Looks capable of adjusting to the Scottish Premiership pretty quickly, but also plenty of skill. Came through the PSG Academy. So we know that Celtic have had links with the PSG Academy going back to Odsonne Edouard, and the fact that he's now at Lyon, there's still, Christopher Julien has come over from France previously as well. So this could be a player that could be really exciting if he comes on board to Celtic. Again, only 19 years old. So if he's here for 2 years, is he the next 25, 30 million pound player already for Matt O'Reilly? So that's one to watch. But with Kyogo, I wonder if that's caught him off guard.
Yeah, I think you've got a sense of Matt O'Reilly. I think most people expect him to go. Brighton, serious club. When they make an offer or when they go into negotiations, they tend to get it done. Billy Gilmour's off to Napoli, Scotland midfielder. It looks as if that one is edging a bit closer. I suppose in terms of Kyogo, there's also been talk about Rio Hatate and even kind of vague links about Cameron Carter-Vickers. Do Celtic have some untouchables that no matter what happens at this stage in the window, you have to put the club first? And while it might be hard for any player who has been offered maybe a dream move, that Celtic have to put the club first.
Yeah, because Brendan Rodgers has probably waited so long for Adam Idah to get in the door and go, right, I've got 2 first choice strikers now, and then he ends up back to square one again. And does that end up becoming something like, okay, we know what Lawrence Shankland is capable of, do we just go and grab him? I could imagine Brendan Rodgers probably putting his foot down and saying, I'll hold my hands up for losing one of these 2 players, but I can't lose both this late in the window.
We've mentioned players attracting interest from other clubs. Celtic are obviously very, very busy in terms of bringing guys in. We spoke about Arnie Engels. We have spoken about Luke McCowan in the past. We're also looking at the Los Angeles midfielder Bogus. There are various Austin Trusty from Sheffield United as well, but it does seem that amid this transfer window, Celtic have been pretty good at keeping their eye on the ball on the pitch. St Mirren on Sunday, a tough game. St Mirren will be refreshed, no midweek game there. Tough game, but do you expect them to get the job done?
I would expect them to get the job done, and Kyogo back in training, whether he makes the starting lineup or not with the shoulder injury, not sure, but Daizen Maeda looked pretty good through the middle at the weekend there, and if we cast our minds back, Luis Palma had played a lot of his football in Greece as a main striker, so it's not as if Celtic would be, struggling for options there. And again, we know what Adam Idah is capable of, so if he's asked to lead the line, I'm sure he'd be more than capable. And St Mirren, although not having the exertions of Europe this week, any time you're coming up against Celtic, Brendan Rodgers is going to have the team set up the way he wants it set up, and I can't see past Celtic this weekend.
If we can stay in the Glasgow area for a bit, Rangers against Ross County. I was at Spartans last week when Spartans shocked Ross County in the Premier Sports Cup. Rangers, it's another game at Hampden. It's probably going to be one of the final games at Hampden. It looks as if that steel consignment is here. Work is progressing. Rangers are very, very hopeful they're going to be back at Ibrox, very soon. It looks like a home win, but is it as easy as that in terms of Rangers?
At this point, I think the Rangers fans would take 3 points, even with a poor performance. I think it's going to be 3 points, nothing less. Again, there's a disappointment of Europe that Rangers now need to put behind them. The League Cup win over St Johnstone probably wasn't as convincing as some fans would have liked, but it's another round in the trophy there. Ross County, they probably looked at 2 positive points at the start of the season against Dundee United and Motherwell, but then that League Cup shocker has probably come out of nowhere. So they can't go to Hampden and go guns blazing against Rangers though, so they'll have to sit in and hope for the best. And I think there is enough quality in that Rangers squad to pick up 3 points.
Rangers, obviously, transfer business again ongoing, but they've got a big game at Celtic Park next weekend as well. Will Philip Clement be looking at his team this week in terms of getting stable, and maybe with a nod to that game, does the 11 that start tomorrow against Ross County in ideal world probably start against Celtic?
I think he could probably use this almost as, with no disrespect to Ross County, he might use even an hour of this as a training exercise. If he can get the team to go a goal or two up within half an hour, to go, right, for the next hour I'm going to treat this is how I want my team to play against Celtic set up. We've heard reports overnight that Rangers had a bid rejected for Brazilian centre-back Kaiki. Hope we're pronouncing that right. That included a sell-on fee, 20 years old, so it would have fit that model of come in, play here for a couple of years, we'll sell you on. It hasn't worked out as yet, but he's a right-sided defender. So even if that deal's done in the next week, I don't imagine he would come in and displace John Souttar. It would probably be Souttar and Proper playing this weekend and next weekend as well. With two other sides in Europe on Thursday night, Ryan, for a long time it looks as if it's going to be a really, really good night for Scottish football. Kilmarnock holding their own against Copenhagen for long spells. Hearts well in the game against Pilsen, but it ended with 2 late goals. The back of the Scottish Sun today, stoppage crime, good headline. Hearts, that 96-minute winner for Pilsen was, a kick in the guts. And then Kilmarnock losing as well an injury time goal to make it 2-0, which gives them a real tall order in the second leg. Killie need to go to Aberdeen. Hearts need to go to Motherwell. On paper, 2 tough ties in the middle of these fixtures. And Derek McInnes is not happy at all about going to Aberdeen. If I was Derek McInnes and Kilmarnock, I would have asked for the game to be pushed back to... I don't know if they could have had the game completely postponed and put down for weeks ahead, because Kilmarnock would have still had a game on Thursday, but I don't know if in this early of the season could the game have been reversed to Rugby Park. I'm not sure, but I would definitely have at least asked the question. The other thing for Aberdeen, though, is that there's the rumours about Kevin Nisbet starting to come around again. Don't expect we'll see him on Sunday, but that could, be for Aberdeen fans to watch. Going to Motherwell versus Hearts. Hearts have had, looking at it now, a kind of shocking start to the season by their standards. Looked good in the opening day against Rangers at at Tynecastle, but since then dumped out the League Cup by Falkirk, and then a sucker punch against Pilsen. It's starting to look like we need something positive here. Yeah. So they'll have to hope that they can put that behind them. But Motherwell again, only a couple of weeks back, looked as though the squad was kind of struggling with injuries. Not the case now. We'll have birthday boy Lennon Miller as well, ready to turn up and show what he's capable of. So that'll be a really interesting game to watch.
Just to touch on Hearts, I think the reason Stephen Naismith signed guys like Jan Danda, James Penrice, Blair Spittle, so many others, was for these games. So I don't think, with the massive squad Hearts have, can there be any excuses for Hearts to go to Motherwell, who, remember, what a massive injury list they've got? Can there be any excuses for Hearts not to go and win this game?
The only excuse would be how much of an impact does last night have on them, but games aren't won on paper. Hearts do, on paper, have the stronger squad, but games aren't won there. But I do think it's too early in the season for any rumblings of discontent, but they need something positive at some point, because Pilsen coming over here, they've already said, they've accused Hearts of time wasting early on in the game, so they've come out and they've said that they're going to go for it at Tynecastle. So that'll be a blistering game to watch, but it's not a case of, right, well, we're still in the tie 1-0, Tynecastle, let's go all out, because Pilsen will be thinking the exact same. They're looking to kill the tie off. So they need a bounce back from somewhere, and from Stephen Naismith's point of view, hopefully that's against Motherwell on Sunday.
Stephen Naismith needs a win. Hibs boss David Gray, he also needs a win. Lost to St Mirren, first of the season. Lost to Celtic, no disgrace. Lost to Celtic again, no disgrace. But he's playing against an informed Dundee team at Easter Road. The fans are getting a little bit restless. They want to see signs of progress after a tough couple of seasons. That's a tough game for Hibs.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue this game revolves around Luke McKibben, because Hibs have been interested in him, but right now Dundee looks like the happier place to be. They've had a good start to the season. Airdrie have been tipped to go places in the Championship, walloped them 6-1 in the League Cup. You look at Hibs, David Gray had to come out and publicly chastise his players for the same players making the same mistakes. Does that mean that he completely flips the team to some extent? I don't know, but I think he's certainly looks as though he's in his, some players on their last warning, it sounds like,
Yeah, and then up in Tayside we've got a bit of derby, Dundee United against St Johnstone. Always a good game. Two teams who I'd imagine would probably finish the season, finishing the table pretty close to each other. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, I mean, St Johnstone have surprised everybody this season. They looked stout against Rangers, 3-0 at Rugby Park. Nobody saw that coming. Why not another positive result for St Johnstone? Craig Levine going back to Tannadice. I'm sure, even if he wouldn't publicly admit it, he'll have a little chip in his shoulder there, just going with a point to prove. And I could more than likely see St Johnstone come away with something and continuing their surprisingly good, no disrespect, start of the season.
No problem. Ryan, thanks a lot for your time as always.
Okay, I'm now joined by Jim Delahunt, the Scottish Sun's bookie basher. Jim, how are you? Looking forward to the weekend?
Yeah, looking forward to a cracking card, David. There's some really good games, Premiership, Championship, and even further down the leagues. I know the fans of the lower league clubs have had a great start to the season. Maybe look at some of those in the actual column in the paper, but I think we're concentrating mainly on the Premiership today.
Yeah, I mean, in the first part of the show, we've been looking back at Killie in Europe, Hearts in Europe, obviously. Heartache at the end for both of them going down. Killie going down 2-0, Hearts going down 1-0. Tough away fixtures for both. Killie up at Aberdeen, Motherwell for Hearts.
Yeah, I was starting to think on Thursday night that Hearts were maybe going to get away with a 0-0. I think everybody who was keeping tabs on the game was starting to think that as well, David. It's just a shame. I've seen that. I've seen the way the goal went in. It was just a shame the way it all happened. But they're only 1-0 down at home. I think there'll be a huge crowd at Tynecastle, as we would all expect, for that return leg. The question, of course, is Hearts game at Motherwell this weekend. I don't want to say how seriously will they take this, because that's not the right way to approach it. It's just how they will approach it in terms of the Thursday game in mind. I don't think Hearts want to lose another Premiership game, so I suspect Gary Naismith will be determined to take something from that trip to Fir Park. That pushes me towards the draw, because I think Motherwell are solid enough to withstand anything that Hearts can throw at them, given the fact that Hearts are struggling to score goals at the moment. And I noticed that Shanklin missed another couple of chances away from home on Thursday night. So I'd be edging towards the draw in that one. Motherwell against Hearts. Hearts are 13-10 away, but Motherwell against Hearts, the draw maybe 12-5 would be the way I'd be pushing that one.
In terms of Killie, they swithered over where they're trying to get the Aberdeen game postponed.
Yeah.
For Derek McInnes's side, they put in so much effort in Denmark Thursday night too.
Yeah, they really did. And at 1-0, you're thinking, Killie have got a wee chance here. But at 2-0 against a team with Champions League experience, Copenhagen, I think they're now struggling, even though they've got home advantage. And of course, the big Ayrshire crowd will turn out. Good luck to them next Thursday night. But again, like Hearts, they face a tricky away trip, more than tricky away trip to Pittodrie this weekend. I always had Aberdeen down to win this one. Nothing I saw with Kilmarnock on Thursday night makes me change that opinion. Derek McInnes will have to juggle, David. You know that as well as I do. Aberdeen, slight odds on, maybe 17-20. As I say, I always thought this was a home win for Aberdeen. Jimmy Thelen going for his 8th consecutive victory, which is a phenomenal start for any Aberdeen manager. I'm not even sure, you might correct me, I'm not even sure Alex Ferguson did that. So an 8th win for Aberdeen, very much on the cards for me. 17-20. It might even get shorter, but that would be the way I'd be thinking there.
I'm going to Hibs against Dundee Easter Road. A really intriguing one. You speak about Stephen Naismith not wanting to lose another game, but David Gray, I'm not saying he's under pressure, but Hibs really need to try and get off the mark with a win.
They have to get a win, don't they? But you have to think that they've had those 2 games against Celtic. They've got them out the way, if you want to put it that way. Dundee have been impressing me all season and towards the back of last season. I think I've already had them in as a Saturday single this season, and they've obliged. And I'm very, very tempted by the price this weekend at Easter Road. They have goals throughout the team, Dundee. 29 goals in 7 games. I think that gives them a terrific chance at Easter Road, especially with the way Hibs are playing. I mean, all the Hibs fans will hope that they can improve on those Celtic performances, the second of which wasn't too bad, I'd have to say, even though that was at Celtic Park. But Dundee appealed to me at just over 2-1 for the single this weekend. They have goals in their team. I think they're still going to have Luke McCowan for this weekend, depending what happens next week, of course. But Dundee, I fancy to get a result at Hibs, and it might even be a win.
Rangers, it looks as if the Hampden experience won't be lasting too much longer. I think Rangers are edging towards a return to Ibrox soon. I watched Ross County, Jim, against Spartans last weekend. A major shock losing to League 2 opposition. Don Cowie, after it, Conor Randall after it were telling me it's all about the action now, but it's a tough game. You would expect Rangers having a free week, no European tie this week, to be pretty strong at Hampden.
Yeah, I cannot see anybody tipping Ross County at 12-1 and upwards for this one. I mean, to go to Rangers away at any time, you have to have belief, and I just wonder if Ross County can muster the belief for this game, given that result that you witnessed last weekend. So I'm not going to dwell on it. I can't see Ross County even getting a draw against Rangers. Rangers should have the manpower and goal power to get a result. 1-6 isn't going to make anybody any richer than they are today, but we'll see how it goes.
The third Saturday game, Tayside Derby, United against St Johnstone. You were up at Dundee, up at Tannadice last weekend. Jim, having a little look. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, we'll come to St Mirren in a minute, but St Mirren looked very leggy, but Dundee United handled that game very well indeed. They got the victory, got progression into the quarterfinals of the Premier Sports Cup. I think they're a good bet against St Johnstone. I know St Johnstone played pretty well against Rangers, maybe a bit unfortunate with the way that first goal panned out in terms of the controversial refereeing decision. But I thought Dundee United very, very solid against St Mirren. I actually watched them. I was on holiday a couple of weeks ago, and I actually watched them in a bar in Rhodes in the Dundee Derby, and I was impressed with them that day as well, although they had to concede 2-2 in the end. But I'm going to take Dundee United to beat St Johnstone. I think they're very, very solid defensively, and I thought that the boy who did impress me was Adeboy Aga. I thought he looked cumbersome when I saw him at first, but I thought his movement was very good. I think he's got the defence sorted out there. Jim, at Tannadice. This might be the weekend that St Johnstone go and put 3 past them, but I'm going to go for Dundee United to beat St Johnstone, a home win.
Touching St Mirren there, they have the Sunday game, a really tough one against Celtic. We've been speaking again in the first part of the show about all the transfer stuff, ins and outs at Celtic, but do you expect Brendan Rodgers' side to be pretty settled, even though there's all this going on in the background?
Yeah, the last twice I've seen St Mirren at home to Celtic, Celtic have made a terrific fast start. They've been doing that against Hibs the last couple of weeks as well. I expect them to do the same again. Ellery Balcombe is going to be the busiest man in Paisley on Sunday lunchtime, without a doubt. 8-1 St Mirren. The local diehards might fancy a touch of that, but I certainly don't. Celtic, you would expect it 2-7 to get the job done again. Although I just have a hunch, David, that St Mirren might get a goal in this one, even if it's a 2 or 3-1 defeat. So I might be looking at the both teams to score here, but definitely Celtic for the win.
Championship, it's always fascinating. It's been a fascinating start this season. So many teams with promotion ambitions, promotion hopes. Who do you fancy this week? Ayr catching your eye against Raith Rovers?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I got it horribly wrong last week in terms of tipping Hearts to beat Falkirk, but John McGlynn had them sussed, didn't he? And I think he'll be looking for 3 points against Partick Thistle tomorrow. They're 5-6, which I think is a decent price. Partick Thistle haven't scored in 3 games. You mentioned Ayr United. Yeah, they were in the top 5 last week. We get 3 out of 5 in the top 5 last week. Ayr United were one of them. They're 19-20 at home to Raith Rovers this weekend. I think they'll win again. I think Falkirk will win again by beating Partick Thistle at home. And the one I'll throw in here, odds against, but at home, Hamilton Accies to beat Dunfermline. Dunfermline have been poor.
Jim, thanks as always for your time.
Thanks very much, David.
Thanks for watching and listening to Go Ballistic. Please remember to like, please remember to subscribe, and we'll be back on Monday with all the review of the weekend's action.